Roswitha couldn't help but sneak a glance at Leon. Just now, while looking at the photos in the camera, she noticed that apart from her and her daughter's photos, Leon didn't have any photos that belonged to him. She silently said in her heart, "This guy takes photos all day, but he don't have a single photo of himself." Due to Leon being busy taking photos of her and her daughters, he didn't have time to take a photo of himself. Roswitha turned around to look at Leon and raised the camera in her hand. She made a proposal to him. "How about we take a photo together?" Seemingly worried that Leon might misunderstand her meaning, Roswitha closed her eyes and explained her proposal to Leon. "I just want to avoid daughters asking why we don't have a photo together. Don't misunderstand me." She slowly approached him and aimed the camera lens at them. Upon hearing what Roswitha said, Leon didn't find it very strange. In order to avoid suspicion from his daughters, he also agreed to her proposal. He raised an eyebrow and praised her in a casual tone. "Okay, Your Majesty is really far-sighted." In fact, Leon didn't know that Roswitha's true intention was just to have a photo that included him. Roswitha brought the camera closer to them and raised her hand, making a V gesture. At this moment, she noticed that Leon seemed to have deviated from the camera lens and failed to capture Leon's face completely. She impatiently reminded him, "Get closer. Your face is so big that it's out of the frame." Upon seeing the gestures made by Roswitha in front of the camera lens, Leon couldn't help but mock her. "Oh please, a dragon over 200 years old still throwing up a peace sign? How childish." Leon turned around and slowly approached Roswitha. Although he mocked Roswitha for making such a childish gesture, he himself also made the same V gesture as her. They looked at the camera lens and smiled. As the camera's sound of taking photos rang out, a photo belonging to Leon and Roswitha was captured by the camera. After enjoying the resort's fireworks display, Leon and Roswitha purchased some sparklers near the observation deck and played with Noah and Muin. After lighting a sparkler, it emitted a dazzling light. It lit up the dim observation deck with this faint light. Roswitha gently shook the lit a sparkler while frolicking with Noah. Noah also holds sparklers in both hands. She caught up with Roswitha's footsteps and extended the unlit fireworks into Roswitha's fireworks. Soon, another sparkler lit up the observation deck. Both Roswitha and Noah's faces were filled with happy smiles. Their laughter echoed through the observation deck. Leon and Muin sat on stone benches to rest. Muin seems to be tired from playing. She gently closed her eyes and lay in Leon's arms to rest. As it was already evening, the temperature on the mountain had begun to slowly decrease. To prevent Muin from catching a cold, Leon took off his coat and covered Muin's body. He gently hugged Muin's body, making her feel warm. At this moment, he lifted his head and saw Roswitha and Noah playing happily together. He whispered, "It's rare to see two usually serious people playing so happily." Leon lowered his head and looked at Muin lying in his arms. Usually, when Muin sees such a scene, she will happily run over to play with Roswitha and Noah. However, she is resting with him on the stone bench. Leon felt a little confused. He asked Muin, "Muin, why don't you go play sparklers with Mom and Noah?" Muin nestled closer into his embrace and whispered, "Muin is tired from playing. Muin needs to rest. Noah has to go to school. And Mom is also very busy with work. They rarely play together like they do now. So, Muin wants Noah and Mom to stay a little longer." At this moment, Noah and Roswitha leaned against each other. She held up a sparkler with a smile on her face, as if she was talking to Roswitha about some knowledge about fireworks. Roswitha nodded lightly and praised her ability to remember knowledge that few people have mentioned before. Upon hearing what Muin said, Leon reached out his hand and gently touched her head. He smiled at her and said to her, "You've grown up, Muin." Muin shook her head lightly, seeming to disagree with what Leon said. She opened her eyes and looked at him, saying to him, Muin hasn't grown up and doesn't know what growing up is. Muin only wants Noah, Dad, and Mom to be happy." Leon was deeply moved by Muin's words. He closed his eyes and couldn't help but shed a few tears. He didn't expect Muin to treat his family so gently and deeply love them. He silently said in his heart, although Muin and Noah have vastly different personalities, they love their families in their own way. Leon thought that Muin was staying with him and pretending to rest in order to allow Roswitha and Noah to play for a longer time. He looked at Muin and reached out his hand, wanting to take her to play with Roswitha and Noah. "Muin, how about Dad take you?" However, at that moment, he heard the sound of Muin sleeping soundly. During the conversation with Leon, Muin unknowingly fell asleep. She placed her hand on Leon's clothes, closed her eyes, and unconsciously opened her mouth. A happy snoring sound came from her mouth. Leon was a little surprised by Muin's quick fall asleep. "You're really tired, right?" Roswitha and Noah set off all the little fireworks. They walked towards Leon. At this moment, they all noticed that Muin had fallen asleep in Leon's arms. Roswitha curiously poked her head out to look at Muin and whispered to Leon, "Is she asleep?" Leon nodded to Roswitha. He said to them, Let's go back." He wrapped Muin in his clothes and gently picked her up. Noah didn't speak to Leon. She crossed her hands and placed them in front of her chest, then lifted her head and silently looked at Muin, who was being held by him. A look of envy emanated from her eyes. Roswitha seems to have noticed something. She lowered her head slightly and looked at Noah. Although Noah's face did not show any expression, Roswitha could still vaguely sense Noah's emotions at this moment. Roswitha approached Noah and slightly bent down. Noah noticed Roswitha's movements. She lifted her head and looked at Roswitha, unsure of what she was going to do next. Roswitha asked Noah, "Mom is also holding you, okay?" Upon hearing Roswitha's words, Noah froze in place. She slightly widened her eyes, her cheeks tinged with a slight blush. She didn't expect that Roswitha would see through her thoughts. Noah lowered her head slightly, revealing a shy smile. She whispered her agreement to Roswitha's suggestion. Okay. On the way back to the hotel, Leon looked aside and found Noah being held in the arms of Roswitha. Noah couldn't help but press her head tightly against Roswitha's shoulder. She doesn't want anyone to see her current expression. So, the first day of Leon's hot spring trip ended happily. Actually, it's not over yet. After returning to her hotel room, Roswitha picked up her camera and wanted to continue viewing the photos taken by Leon today. At this moment, Leon quickly took off his clothes and walked to the hot spring in the backyard, wearing a pair of big shorts. He faced Roswitha and said to her, "Let's soak in hot springs together." Behind him, the fireworks of the resort rose into the air and exploded in very beautiful colors. Wait, why did things develop like this?
Hi! Pineapple has a good news to tell you. My app Lullaby can now be downloaded on the App Store and Google Play. You can search for Lullaby Light Novel in the search bar to find the app. After downloading the app, you can read our exclusive novels and comics more easily on your mobile phone. If you are interested, you can download Lullaby from the App Store and Google Play.